Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Pat and podcast with Pat and
Mpumi.
What do you do, Mpumi?
What's up? I'm good. I'm alive. It's still.
Are you happy to be here?
Are you happy? I am. I'm happy to be here, of course.
Great
anytime.
stuff.
How are you doing? How's life been? How's business been? Still the first month. It's not yet Feb.
Things are busy this year, and I feel like the first half of the year for me, really every minute counts.
Yeah.
Obviously balancing my life as a dad as well as now running these businesses. It's just a matter of managing my time more effectively.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you saw online, we on a hunt for a venue for the top 16 youth-owned brands awards. The second edition. So that's what's keeping us very busy. We are also preparing for the launch of the Yobas later on this month. So we are very hectic, and we obviously doing some work for our clients. There's an event that we're preparing for. So hectically busy.
That sounds like fun. I know this year, or at the beginning of the year, it's the vision boarding time. It's the reflection time. So you started with the visions of POB.
I just work on the visions. I ain't got time for planning. I just go straight into it.
Okay.
Which sometimes can be quite detrimental, but look, we hitting the ground running. I mean, we still haven't had we did have our strat planning last year, but we haven't revisited it to look at what's still relevant, what's not, what can we eliminate, what can we add, because things are evolving, so you can't also just because you planned, it's in your strategy plans, then you have to stick to it and not adapt. So that's what we are looking at doing now. Perhaps in the next 2 weeks or so we'll be able to find a day or two to do our strat.
I mean, whilst we are strategizing and so forth, I think quite a lot of things still stay the same. We still don't have electricity.
Oh my goodness.
As planned.
And now we have to pay 18 something percent
more than what we were paying already. It was a thingy. We were already being stolen from. Now it became worse.
Absolutely. I mean, listen to the insanity of this. Like, you paying for more for half the service.
Yeah.
For less than half the service. It's just ridiculous. Then also, you have our politicians coming up and really making promises about job creation and there's no way you can solve the unemployment crisis without fixing ESCOM. I just think that it's absolutely ridiculous that someone can think that we can. I mean, the guy who's going to be editing this video, for example, after this, who's going to edit the podcast, package it, if he doesn't have power, he won't be able to produce.
Sure. I mean, I think
it's as basic as that.
Yeah.
I mean, never mind like the big factories that manufacture stuff. Just everyone, whether you are a photographer, whether you run a restaurant, whether you run a factory
or an studio.
For
us in the 8 or 9 hours that we're open, should we not have electricity for 4 to 5 hours, it means that you've lost out on about 6+ clients.
Crazy, right?
And you've lost a basket size of about 2,000 or so.
And you
in a day.
And you still have to pay your rent in full.
Exactly. They're not going to be like, no. But I mean, thankfully, like we've said, we've got, and now we're seeing also with landlords and generators, but even down the road, or not even, opposite, they don't have generators. And it's restaurants.
It's really a very murky situation we're finding ourselves in as a country. And I just hope that they can prioritize, ESCOM, but also at the same time, and I think where we're going with at this rate, one just have to be as independent as possible from the government.
Yeah.
So if you've got a little bit of money, just
almost like off the gridding yourself.
If you've got a little bit of money, just get medical aid. If you got a little bit of money, just hire private security.
Yeah.
Because that's where we are now. You can't just rely on the public sector.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, look, none of these politicians and public servants go to public hospitals, that should tell you something.
That there's something wrong, right?
Absolutely. Because if they were experiencing what we're experiencing, I doubt,
I remember in high school, still now, the education minister.
Yeah.
The family. It was a thing about where the children go, because it's a conversation to say, the children will go to private schools, but they won't go to government schools. Yeah. And I think she actually brought them to our school. So it was okay. Wow. So they come here. Family members that came to the school that we were at. But at the same time, again, it's not like it was government. So take them lapo government government schools. But that's quite true. That's quite true.
But we're not here to be ITCH and moan, but
but we're here to talk about brands. We're here to contribute to the economy. We're here to have fun.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I've got a question for you, Mpumi.
Talk to me.
Are we our ancestors' wildest dreams?
Are we? So my dad has this thing every time maybe something we're doing in our youth that he's like, yo, bandana mam, hey, I used to dream of what you're achieving. You know, whether you bought a car, whether you're taking yourself on a holiday.
In your 20s, you're buying yourself a car.
You know.
You're traveling the world, you're getting on planes.
You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could be the most ridiculous thing, but he'll constantly say, yo, mdanam, I know you're living my dreams, you know? So I think we are living dreams of our predecessors or people who, our family members who kind of okay, I wish I could have, you know, at your age, what was I doing?
I mean, right,
in or something, you know?
I mean, obviously right now we're recording this episode in Sandton. You know,
right?
I mean, 3 decades ago?
That wasn't a thing.
That wasn't gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, obviously, this stems from a brand that in December we gave a pat.
We did. We said, listen, this is the brand the brand that is. But was it we actually did. We patted it.
We gave it a pat. You know, we gave BMW a pat for Generation Joy, the campaign, in terms of what it stands for and what not. Right. So here we are now in January 2023, and really we're changing our minds. But
I think we're gonna have a discussion about it.
Yeah. So I mean, the video or the multimedia execution of it, it's brilliant. It's emotive. It ticks all the boxes for me in terms of a piece of communication. I think, and that's the mistake that. That's common sort of in marketing, particularly on what do they call it, a multi-channel perspective, right? Because you take one big idea, then now you have to slice it up and make it relevant
on different mediums.
On different mediums,
sure. Yeah,
you see what I mean. So now the video is great. It's emotive. It's making us feel goosebumps. It's energizing us. You know, it's saying, are we girl bosses or we are bosses? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just, you know, emotive. Then they take the same sort of approach and they put it on an out-of-home execution. Mm-hmm. Then now they say, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, and they scratch out ancestors.
Yeah.
How dare you touch our ancestors?
So I have a different opinion.
Got you.
To that. And we're referring to an out-of-home that was at the Cape Town International
And you know what's
Airport.
interesting? Sorry to interject. You know how long that piece of communication has been up?
I mean, probably
2 months or so. Because
I was there. I didn't see it.
In November, it was already up.
I was at the airport. I might have just not have seen it or
noticed. I saw it at King Shaka.
Okay.
You know, but also there's one of those things like, okay. Because also I want to catch a flight, you know.
Yeah, isn't that time?
I didn't have the time. So someone had the time.
To scrutinize.
And said no.
They had a 4-hour layover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and funny enough, we talk about a 4-hour layover. I really had a 4-hour layover in December from Cape Town to Durban for 4 hours. Then had to come back to Joburg. Crazy. But needless to say, I think... So we're referring to an ad that was on an out-of-home of which now they've put that and
hopefully one tool would show us.
Yeah, they've strike through, the ancestors, and now the retaliation is, how dare you strike through our ancestors?
You don't touch our ancestors.
I suppose there's a larger community who are saying these are, the people that allow us to or contribute to us living the good life,
absolutely,
the soft life, So here we are. You guys are now disregarding who we are,
absolutely,
right? Disregarding our identity.
Yeah.
So my opinion would have been that, granted, but BMW then came back to say that that's not what they were doing.
That's not what they're standing for. So
that's not what they stand for.
So
Pat is going to read it verbatimly, but
yeah,
they were saying that, I think, from like the video that we all loved, that we're not defined by girl bosses, but that you are the boss. Is that it is individual, it is more intrinsic in terms of how you see your tomorrow looking like. It's not defined by somebody else or somebody's standards.
Yeah, so I mean, BMW said the premise of our Generation Joy campaign is to focus on our presence, i.e., we are living up to our potential, or we are meant for greatness. At no point is the intention to erase ancestors. We are encouraging people to find joy from all points of view. At no point, they like saying at no point, this is the intention to discriminate, disregard, or disrespect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the rationale behind the campaign, obviously, I think it's one of those things, right? We're sitting in a boardroom and they're like, this is what we think will work.
Yeah.
And it's great. And we want people to, feel something and be excited and off we go. And the market decides otherwise.
Actually, yeah.
And most of these things, to be honest, it makes sense to the people in the boardroom. And I think it's easy for people to but who approved this and because if you look at the whole video, it's good work.
Yeah.
It's great work, right? But then now they had to chop it up and now they have to make it work out of home.
On different mediums,
on different mediums to make sure that the message is not diluted. And unfortunately now that's where the clash is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the unfortunate part is once it's on for show, so whether it is digital, whether it is PR, whether it is any function or form of marketing or communication piece, once you've said it, you've said it.
So the
narrative,
you can't take it back.
And the narrative, unfortunately, is what you had, whether good intentions or not, or whether from ECD to, and I say ECD because that's a chief creative director who kind of sees what could look wrong in the eye of the person consuming that content or information, is unfortunately that you now can't defend your ad.
Absolutely, it's out there.
It's out there.
But also
and you also can't explain it beforehand.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing right now, and I watch a lot of these American shows, where, for example, there was a tragic accident and people died. So now there's a docuseries in terms of investigating what really happened. Airplanes, so that it doesn't happen again. It doesn't happen again. And I think what our industry lacks oftentimes, it's like they brushed off these things.
Oh.
And somehow they resurface again.
I mean, we've seen it with H&M.
We've seen it with H&M. We saw it with Dove. We saw it with Clicks. And. And I guess in as much as, as brands, we need to be pushing boundaries and creating work that, spreads. It is important also to understand that sometimes there are no-go areas.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure in that boardroom there was someone like, hey guys, but because we're in the spirit of
breaking boundaries
and challenging the norm, and often we sometimes take it too far. But I hope BMW learns from this, and I hope the whole industry sort of learns from this. I mean, if you look at
but what's the ramification?
Casa mixed out. you know, from an ancestor's perspective, how they
supported,
how they exactly. I mean, even pushing for Ancestors Day, it's more on a positive light, and I guess that's where they should have taken some notes in terms of, okay, how do you execute these things around ancestors? You know, because there are brands that are getting it right, you know, but hey, to cancel, because in the eyes of the consumer,
it's a cancel culture.
Yes, I mean, that's sort of strike through. You want to emphasize the message, but to them, they didn't say it that way. They don't see that you want to emphasize the fact that we live up to your full potential now. You are in charge.
And not necessarily somebody else who's saying this is where we cap your success. So you are deciding this is what I want, this is how I want.
Absolutely.
Sure, granted.
Otherwise, yeah, because I mean, another execution could have been just not use the ancestors' word.
Yeah, I know you said you remove it and just be wildest dreams.
Yeah, we are wildest dreams.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, you know, and
yeah.
I
But
guess
tell us your thoughts. This will be on our social media, of course, and we'll interact and have a discussion to say, what are your thoughts? What do you think? What are the ramifications, you know, of that? But whilst we're still in January, and whilst we're talking about our goals,
life goals,
I've got X number of kilograms to lose, I have a beach body to prepare for. Doesn't really happen, but that's besides the point. Netflix.
You know, before you get into it, my friend Tibbs, you know, we ran together, and last year when we started running together, he used to say like, "Hey, we said this year Rajima.
Yeah.
So this is what we're doing. Rita Rajima this year. So that's what we're doing. You know, we are putting in the hours. So,
but it's lovely to have an accountability partner because I think it's quite difficult.
It helps.
Sometimes individually.
So now we're pushing each other for, you know, races. You know, taking again because, I mean, like anything, it's easy for me to be like, today I don't feel like running.
Yeah. But if you have that somebody. You're gonna do it. You know, that's quite lovely.
Yeah.
But now we have Netflix, and Netflix and Nike has partnered up. And they've got, I think Puma also used to, so if you followed Puma also had similar workout sessions. So if you had their app, you'd have workout sessions that you could follow. Nike, I'd like to believe, had their app where it was quite community running and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, even also like exercises. Some of the content, I suspect it live on YouTube.
Okay,
then to be corrected.
But I think people who executed this initially was, I think, Puma, because I remember Takis was an ambassador, and you'd have an opportunity to jump on the app and join the challenges or her different challenges. So it would be HIIT, for example, yoga or so forth. So similar, those peace training now is found on Netflix.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, the timing couldn't have been better. You know, I mean, we all know around this time of the year, people are saying, "You, me." New goals, you know, working on that summer body, you know, fetch your body 2023, you know.
I think what I like about it is, so, I mean, given load shedding, I think you've had to find ways to work around when you're out for 2 hours, 4 hours.
You know, the only thing I like with load shedding is the fact that I can go to any club, Virgin Active Club.
Because the card thing is not working.
Yeah,
it doesn't recognize.
No, the system allows you because I mean, say for example, I wanted to go to my club and I wanted to do maybe, I don't know, use the elliptica or something.
Yeah.
You know, then
it just allows you.
Yeah, then it doesn't work. So therefore, I can go to any Virgin Active Club. Except for, obviously, the one in Melrose Arch and the one in Alice Lane.
Just saying, now that you know, guys, load shedding time you can. The one that you've been eyeing.
Not ladies, any time. So as long as
it was during load shedding.
No, as long as we still have this crisis.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can go to Bryanston Club. I can go to Fendale.
Okay.
I can go to Lone Hill.
So you guys now have nationwide access.
Technically.
But needless to say, I was saying in that time, I think it's usually a downtime. Is as much as maybe you'll have charged your laptops and get ready, and data also is a problem. And network also becomes a problem. You can also utilize that time, whether it is just, you know, to WUSA, to have an opportunity, because you can download and then play it offline. So you can have an opportunity then to play around then with, you know, still meet your exercise goals, not necessarily having to wake up at 4 a.m.
Got you.
Not necessarily to go in the evening late and so forth. So that's quite nice.
And interesting, you mentioned the flexibility around time, and I think that's what these times also called for. A little bit of flexibility, or more of it rather.
Yeah.
You can't be rigid anymore because
I think, as humans, we are built to adapt. It's just we don't like change.
Got you.
So adaptation is inherent in us. But it's just that the first time, of course, it just comes as a shock. How?
Yeah.
Now, wait at this load shedding because we were used to electricity, life happened. But now like I'm saying, you have to find ways around 4 hours.
Yeah.
We're told stage 6 probably 2 days ago. Everybody was in uproar, but here we are.
We're still living.
4 hours. What do you do in that 4 hours? Have your meetings maybe that are face-to-face in that 4 hours. Utilizing time differently than how it was.
But talking about that, there's this Vox Pox type of video that I watched, and they were asking this lady, a young lady, I think she's at varsity, and she was just talking about how they were talking about how load shedding affects them, and she said something that I don't know why, but it touched me. I don't know whether it was the tone, the way she said it, but she was like, "Asapili amnandi." You know what I mean? Like it just hit home, and I'm thinking, if I'm the president, and here's a young person saying in their own country of birth and of living, they're not enjoying life because of load shedding. Surely I have to do something to solve this problem, guys. Like,
so he must just hear Asapili amnandi.
Like Asapili amnandi. Life is not the same. We're not enjoying life. Technically, that's what That's what it means. We're not enjoying life.
Yeah.
Food rots. You buy ice cream, when you have it melts.
Yeah.
Also they say, but even meat, because they say there's also a risk from a food poisoning perspective.
Yeah.
Those are the effects of then our appliances break and
it's a ripple effect. I think we can't stress it enough. And the unfortunate part is we're probably speaking into air at the moment, up until we find solutions. But the result of that is quite negative on many.
Gotcha.
I know one lady that came into the nail studio, and we didn't know when there was load shedding because there was we didn't shut down. So we're sitting in the studio, and then it goes black. So we're like, don't we have electricity? And the lady says, no, it's not because of that. It's simply, she says now even at the hospital, it actually goes.
Oh yeah.
So now we're like, what do you mean it just goes? We're thinking for people, what happens to those type of people?
Sure.
So that's ESCOM, and that's what it is. But that's why I'm saying Nike and Netflix, and opportunity to see what you can do in that time. Download and
of course
make sure you become that you want to be. And also just be healthy. Get that blood rushing.
Absolutely.
Get that mind going.
We're dealing with a lot lately, so you need that.
Yeah,
you need that.
Once we're there, there's another thing also, and these are money matters. Come January, money matters, and I love how it's almost like a line as a Home Affairs. You're going to get a line at Home Affairs, or you know that the system is going to be down, or the probability of the system being down is high.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about the most expensive schools in South Africa.
Ooh, I saw the list, and I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, will my daughter get to make it to one of those schools? Interestingly, last year, so one of my close people, she gave me a call. So her son is going to one of these schools, one of these schools, and I was like, yo, Pat, I just spent 17,000 rands on school uniform.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. Before even going into the school. Sure.
It's crazy, and obviously now, the boy is going to the Midlands, ranked number 2 in the list. So you can just imagine, the amount of money that's being spent, and of course there's a debate around, is it worth it?
I was going to say, I remember we had a conversation with a friend to say, the kids one day, where would you take them? Would you take them to private schools? Would you take them to government schools? I mean, I was at a semi-private government of some sort. So where would you take that school? And is it worth it? Like, would you take them? I mean, if it's a proper, like I'm saying, a semi-government and private school, I mean, school we went to was great. Would you take them there, or would you want them to go to, your private schools for some sort?
Yeah. I mean, so, and there's debates around this. It's a very sort of contentious issue. I mean, I saw someone saying, you're taking your kids to these schools.
The Montessori's.
But whether you went to a Kuro, you went to a Saint Mang, or you went to Khotala in a secondary school, we're going to end up at the same class.
After school is after school. After school
is
after
course.
school.
After school is after school.
We'll be on the same premises. Yeah. I mean, it is a debatable, I think, topic. But with facts, by virtue of having gone to a secondary in Dondoni, the odds and the stakes, stacked against you for you having the opportunity to go to university are a lot higher.
Absolutely.
Whereas for, having gone to a government school, to a semi-private school and good government schools, it's part of life. You're going to university.
So your path is almost sort of set, and you have a choice.
Or that path is almost set, because this other path is also almost set, to say that, Pela, siyazimos.
Of course. And I think the biggest thing then becomes around what do you get from these schools?
And just from what we've just spoken about, it's accessibility.
It's access.
Yeah.
Access. So, I mean, you talked about, like, for example, people going to these government schools. I mean, for example, I know for a fact I am one of 5 in our matric class of over 90 kids that made it through to varsity.
Less than probably 1%.
Of course.
And for us, it's actually the opposite.
Exactly.
Is that we're looking at 95 who are, haven't gone to varsity.
Are going to varsity, and you're all gonna, So, and that's number 1. And number 2, then obviously from a social sort of life skills that you get, the confidence that the kids had.
Yeah.
Also, when you get to varsity, yes, we're in the same class, but look, boy, I remember when I was doing IT.
I remember I know
my first year at varsity, I was doing IT, and
this is the first time you have a computer or seeing a computer. Yeah.
No, not seeing it. Remember, now one of my friends had a computer, but he used it just to play music and to DJ. But we never did programming, or I never knew what programming was. Coding.
I mean, now, coders are like from 3.9, I don't know, but it's as ridiculous as that.
So I didn't know what coding was, and I remember in class, the first class for informatics, and the lecturer asked, like, what is it that you don't understand? Like, the question was, any questions from the room?
You don't even know what you don't know.
Exactly. Then I raised my hand. He's like, sir, what is it that you don't understand? I was like, everything. The whole class cracked.
but for you, and I think that's more inherent character, because I remember there was these two, we had AIS, and we were in the lab.
That's applied information system.
Yes. So we had, you do what you got to do. It's just now maybe a bit more higher level. But I had attempted to do CAD. So you've had this. So you don't fear, to a laptop or computer. Or I did not talent. It's an innate thing. Yeah. But here are these two. I remember they sat at the corner. 2 classer ladies, and I remember they didn't know what to do. So their screens were blank, right? Because since I don't go up, what are you doing here? And I remember they were from Emakaya in Eastern Cape, and I don't even know if they finished, or because I never then saw them after literally probably the first month. So I don't even know what happened to them.
This was first day.
This was first week. First week, where they AIS, you don't even know what these words are using, what you need to do. You have to come up with
the first time I heard the word algorithm.
Yeah. And I was like,
it was
shucks.
in varsity. Like, what is an algorithm?
Yeah.
Then the first, when you do coding, they say first you have to declare variables. I'm like, what is
What
a
is
variable?
that? Who is that, Guman? What's a variable?
So I have to declare variables. I'm like, then, you work sort of backwards. Yes,
Sure.
you end up making it because, like you say, it's adapt or die, right? We
Sure.
adapt as people and we sort of
Yeah.
rise against that. But also, should life be that difficult?
Hard? Really?
Hard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think why also is because there's other people. So it's an unfair advantage. If we're all playing on the same playing field, it would make sense. Then now,
Yeah.
okay, we're all equal gay. At the start of the race, now people are running the same. But unfortunately, others are like 10
Yeah.
steps back. Others have an opportunity to be like 100 steps forward.
Absolutely.
So by the time you're catching up, it really is from a character perspective. It is for how many hours. So somebody who would be putting in an hour, you have to put 10 hours because you have to catch up on learning what variables are, what it means. You have to catch up on sitting at the labs, cross-nighting because you have to remember kind of your type touching is like this.
It's
now
slow.
you have to quit it
Exact.
out now, so you're
Uh-huh.
learning typewriting, you're learning how to work with the keyboard, the mouse, finding ways around the laptop or the computer. So,
Yeah.
and this person now has an advantage because they have a laptop at Kai.
Of
So they
course.
grab their
Yeah,
stuff, they
yeah.
go in the comfort of their room, chill, play around, they're
Yeah.
gamers.
I remember at varsity, we had to sort of spend time in the labs in the
Exactly.
evenings. That's why I met Skinny Smooth for the first time
Yeah.
at the labs because we wanted the internet and we wanted,
Yeah.
to use the computers
Yeah.
there and do our work.
And I just think, for example, how you used to apply for varsity. You didn't even need to be told.
Sure.
Because you knew it was part of life is that by grade 11, this is what you need to do. The labs are always open.
And the varsities are also coming
They're
to
coming
you.
to you. They're coming to you.
Yeah.
And they're around the corner, by the way. So you
Yeah.
even have orientation there.
Yeah.
So you've walked around, you've seen, you felt the texture, the feeling
Yeah.
of this higher thing. So it's not fear. So you go in there as it's part of life, it's part of learning.
Absolutely.
You apply for yourself. I remember when I applied for UCT, it was part of life. I had everything done. By the time and how I got to Wits, I keep saying this, it was not by my own doing. That's how I got there. But I knew. I was like, okay, cool. I applied res myself. There was nothing because it's chilled.
And absolutely, going back to your point of like access, also again,
I'll pause.
Absolutely, but also for the parents as well. You're buying into
that
network.
Yeah,
that close knit that
malume mang we tla khona go nthusa.
Exactly, that's not easily accessible. I remember this one time, I was invited to a comedy night for the parents for one of these Saint what schools.
Sure.
And the CEO of FNB
is there.
Yeah. You're like, flip.
Yeah.
So that's also from the parents' perspective, it also works for them, not only for the kids. Because now if you are a saint mom, right? You have
a soccer mom.
If you're a saint mom, you also have access to big people. And if you're like an entrepreneur like myself, if Jacques Sailor's and my daughter's Jacques Sailor's son and my daughter go to the same school, then
and built on relationship. Business is built on relationship. So by opportunity of having access to places where you can chill, network outside of the confines of professionalism and so forth. It's like, man, I know Paddy. And because I know him on a more social level, I know him from his values and who he is as an individual, the trust becomes better. I'm able to say, guys, actually there's a business that I want you to put in there, to whether they go through the system of the pitching, but you have now the opportunity even
100%,
to
that
do
you wouldn't
such.
have ordinarily have had.
Yeah.
So it does give you access. But maybe let's just a quick rundown on the list and the 10, the top 10. And if you look at it, KZN, interestingly, has some of these really expensive schools, and of course Gauteng. But number 1, Hilton. Oh, it's a Hilton boy, eh?
Oh, they speak like this, man. Absolutely, bruv.
Then we got Michael House.
Yeah.
In the Midlands.
And these schools have been top since, because I know
they've
even
been.
when we were.
So looking at about 343,000 rands.
So
So literally you can take about 5 kids to varsity.
Yeah, with that one.
Yeah, 5 kids, first year varsity, with this
amount.
Amount. You know, it's crazy. But
so it's almost the parents after like, whew, that's great now.
So if you're paying this per year times 5.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, almost 1.5 to 1.8.
So 1.8. So by the time the child finishes school, you spend about 3 million on them. Because remember, if now you live in Gauteng and this child is in Hilton, if you want to see them, you must travel.
Yeah.
If they have to come home, they must fly.
Yeah.
All those things.
Those costs.
All those costs.
Yeah.
Then there's uniform, 17,000 rands.
And you're forgetting these kids have now extracurricular activities.
Of course.
They probably start golfing then. And you know how expensive golfing is?
Exactly.
Swimming. Polo. So they need a horse riding. Yeah. They have a horse.
But also it begs the question, how much money are the parents making?
Maybe it goes to the next topic. And I really think it links to it, is that I think we all needed to have lottery man. Because then it would just help, you know?
Absolutely.
And our next part, and our next conversation is a brand which is known for scandal.
Yeah, but also making people rich.
Making people rich,
you know?
And I blew it, you know, type of thing. And it's a national lottery. Yeah. Of which, you know, we've seen quite a couple of celebrities who have come under fire with assets being frozen by virtue of them receiving money from or funding of some sort, apparently, from the National Lottery. And it's supposed that this money is going to NPOs
that are going to help,
you know, the
poor
community
kids in impoverished communities, uplift the youth, expose them and give them opportunities. But the youth does not receive the money. Or not receive the money, but the opportunities that are promised are not realized.
Yeah, which is pathetic.
It is.
It's actually quite frustrating, because there are people out there with actual needs.
Absolutely. But also at the same time, there are people that are actually doing real work
without that national lottery, firstly.
Yes.
And secondly,
just because they are not famous.
Yeah, who are actually giving back. And that's why I'm saying it's two pronged. It's the actual individuals who would be facilitating the distribution, because that's what they are.
Yep.
And it's the actual receivers or beneficiaries to this, where now there's kickbacks involved. There is, like I say, it's from a clout perspective.
Yep.
I just don't know how people sleep at night. I think it's I don't.
I think they say it's better to cry in the Porsche than in a text.
I suppose, but I think for me it's gutting. I hate it. I really hate it, because there are people out there who are impoverished, who don't even have an opportunity to dream bigger than what they see, because there's no opportunity. Maybe you're impregnated when you're young, so you're not even established enough to decide anything at that point in time. You're bringing, and you've now continued a cycle. Granted, whatever the case might be, you're too young and so forth, and why were you doing that can be part of it, but they all add up, and it becomes now a very vicious cycle of which, again, how and because don't even think you're a silo, so it's not alone, because we're a community, we are a country, so everybody feeds off of one another. 100%. So if you don't play your part in the puzzle piece, if you're not saying I'm going to be, or we're bringing in Yobas because this is what is missing in the society, that then is a problem. Because then it means now your Hermosa floors, your Skinny Spoos, all these other brands cannot be recognized and be elevated and be appreciated. Yeah. And therefore bringing about an opportunity for sales conversion and partnerships and collaborations, etc., where it grows the economy. So in a sense, if people are not playing their part and playing within their potential, it's detrimental to society. That's what it is at the end of the day. So once it becomes extrinsic, and once intrinsic rather, and it becomes about yourself, that's where the problem lies.
Absolutely, and I've always been somewhat sort of skeptical-ish around social entrepreneurship, because if you're an entrepreneur, your true nature is being capitalistic in a way, because you sell something, you want to profit, you want to make money. That's the bottom line. Then the social, and I guess that's where there's a little bit of a gray area between social entrepreneurship and like purebred entrepreneurs. Like, because then you as a social entrepreneur somehow, I'm not saying always, it's like you using it as a facade to enrich yourself.
I wouldn't say. I think it's been tainted because it's been used incorrectly. A social entrepreneur, by virtue of what it is there's an end user and there's the commercial element, which is the payer.
Gotcha.
So I'll say, for example, I forgot the name, but there was a lady who used to create bags that had solar panels for the kids who were going in the village, who at night then had an opportunity to light lamps and still study. Now, the end user doesn't have the funds to buy that bag.
Because they won't be able to afford
Coca-Cola and whatever in their CSI program purchases here. So my fight as a social entrepreneur in a financial perspective is making sure I'm meeting targets with these people, but the end user's not they won't suffer. So that's where a social entrepreneur is not necessarily that it's for themselves. It's the end user still being able to experience or enjoy the benefits that are paid for by another commercial or another business.
Gotcha.
Right. So now, like I'm saying, this is not a social entrepreneur by virtue of saying I'm opening a fund and I have an incline to be I'm a philanthropist now, and loosely used to say, okay, cool, I have an X number of money. And I think philanthropy even starts from a kid buying bread and sharing with a friend. I see that your akosonga, even the guys who are chilling estradeni, where they get something and they share it with the person next to them. And it just goes back to just human nature in terms of with what you're given, give, So that, I think for me, it's a bit of it's emotionally frustrating for me because I
can see.
Yeah, no, it makes me cringe, it makes me angry, it makes me mad. That there are people who can lie, and disregard the truth and livelihoods of other people for their benefit. I think for me it's absolutely disgusting. Like,
to put it bluntly.
Yeah, to put it bluntly. But anyway, whilst we're there, then there's other people whose jobs are being taken. And that's people that we are saying AI now to write copy for you.
Artificial intelligence, and I even said to my team, we had this discussion, I think during our first meeting, that as creatives, if you're not gonna take time to improve yourself, you're not gonna take time to study, you're not gonna take time to invest in your craft and make yourself better, you'll find yourself irrelevant soon. It's insane what platforms like Chat GPT actually do from an AI perspective. You can literally brief it and it'll write copy for you and say, write a life insurance ad.
I mean,
and it will give you that.
And it will give you that. So AI, also remember, that is influenced by people. So to build that system and to have the cognitive element, they needed to be individuals that have, because 100%. A computer regurgitates what's been built. Yeah. So if you say A is equal to B, it will always be A equal to B. So that's what machinery does. That's what technology does. Up until there's that cognitive element. Once we get there, then I think we have a bit of a...
Of course. But now the argument is that it will never master the neck.
No, but it depends on the person building that AI.
Of course.
Who adapts to say, okay, there's nuances. I mean, Google right now is not African. It's not for Africa. Right?
Yeah.
For example, if I'm to put something, I still have to put black for it to recognize what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because it hasn't yet been sort of coded, and maybe that hasn't been prioritized. But also, if you look at like Google Translate, for example, it keeps on getting better.
Correct. You can ask something as Setswana and then it comes up. Something as Xhosa, then it comes up. Venda, where it used to just be either, your native European languages only. But now you're seeing that now, I mean, even sometimes when like Gastswana kana, you find it.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying is up until all of that kind of is in a machine, then yes, I can agree to that. But it's ever so changing that we're also almost like in a rat race.
Yeah, but also remember, I mean, also computing power also keeps on getting better.
I suppose, yeah.
The speed of these things keeps on improving and getting better. Because ultimately, the goal for the people that are building these kind of platforms or that are into AI is to somewhat
eradicate human involvement or
in its entirety. And interestingly, I read an article about Tesla. a Tesla car that stopped in the middle of a highway, and there was a 8-car pile up.
Yeah.
And it was when they asked the driver, it was on autopilot, and he just decided, I'm gonna stop. But look, it has its pros and cons, but also at the same time, as someone who's in the creative space, that means you need to be ahead. Your job is to be ahead of the machine of whoever is
building.
Because when you then become complacent, the machine is going to overtake you.
Without a doubt. And that goes to brands even. I mean, we've seen this. I mean, we saw with BlackBerry. Yep. We've seen with Nokia. Yep. So we've seen with Kodak. Yep. So we've seen with these brands, it's not that we were not aware that there comes a time where there's redundancy and kind of after they've managed to downscale and after there's retrenchments, there's a point where now we're still not meeting break even or bottom line, and unfortunately that means that we have to fold shop. Yeah. So iPhone came in true to who they are, convenience, innovation, etc., etc. Yeah. So you have to be agile. You have to be always aware as to your consumer. Mm-hmm. I think I was doing a facilitation and we were talking about end user being the consumer who is, and we're talking about building a brand. CI, for example, and I said, okay, who says this is who we are as a brand? Is it the consumer or is it you as a brand? Do we say, we come to you, this is who we are, and you take us as we are, or do we modify? And of course, you modify accordingly. Maybe we thought this is our consumer, but we're realizing that this is the consumer. But I was saying also, you still stay true to self. Savannah doesn't change now and realizes that, and then changes now to say this is now, who we are, because this is who we were. Now we're seeing that our consumers are actually these type of people. This is what they do, and now we're going to change. Not necessarily. There's still that root of who we are, and we stay true to self.
Absolutely.
Whilst we still modify in accordance to then maybe a new target audience that we're recruiting, or wider or mass market now. So
but interesting times, and really what AI can do. I mean, it's not only in the creative space that is finding its place. I mean, we've seen it in medicine, we've seen it in engineering, across all industries. So it's something to look out for. Also, if you're a creative, challenge yourself. Also get into grips with it. And always invest in yourself.
Yeah, I think I mean earlier before we used to go to high school and we talk about technology and nanotechnology, big data, and so forth. Then it was still quite a phantom concept.
Absolutely.
Now it's quite tangible.
Absolutely.
But I think one thing that I could have taken from that was, and what I would have changed is that don't fear technology. Embrace it and be ahead of it.
Absolutely. I mean, there were brands that thought, or a lot of people even take social media, for example, they thought social media was for kids. The same way when TikTok came in, they said TikTok is for teenagers.
Yeah.
And now you find adults
TikTok challenges.
Doing TikTok challenges. So I guess that's where we're gonna leave it for now.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up our candid session, candid conversation today. It was lovely. Caught up.
It was lovely. We hope you learned something from this episode.
Hope it didn't stress you with monies that you need to make and monies that you don't have and that you need to pay more. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you found it very valuable to you, share it. Sharing is caring. Share it with your loved ones. Share it with your friends. Click subscribe. Yes, so if on YouTube right now, subscribe to the podcast. And
like, share, comment,
and switch on the notification bell.
Switch off your notification.
Switch on the notification
switch
bell,
on,
so that when we post, you get notified that the Pat and Mpumi podcast has a new episode.
Yeah, do that. From myself,
from me, Pat Mahlangu ngithi inarha elale.
Live life and do your best, man. Goodbye.
Live life and do your best.